So that was, kind of the first kind of step. And I know a lot of people picked that up, and then a lot of people kind of, start using those digital backdrops. Even, they creating their own. I have also some for sale where people buying it. I just create this entire community where people share all those ideas. I started teaching how to do them because there's a lot of little things which you have to learn how to make this whole thing work. And yeah, I got amazing feedback from people. And then, now I think there's a lot of other, even AI retouching companies which absorb this idea that, you can remove the background, you can put something creative. But I think that the biggest thing, and you pointed this out as well, we can really, you know, take advantage of this financially, right? So, if you have a client and they want to have some, I don't know, regular background, gray, white, black, whatever, we can always kind of, introduce those digital ones. And then, even till today, whenever I'm shooting a headshot, I always kind of like, hey, you know what? I have this sets of different backgrounds we can use for your images. Or if you really want to look, if you want to have something very unique and something special, I can also create just, backgrounds just for you, right? So we can make this very, very personal. We can, kind of talk about details, what direction you want to go, what kind of image you're going after. And then we can, create those specific backgrounds just for your image. So that was, something also with becoming this additional offer for the clients, which makes those images more unique, more, a little bit more different, and people like that, right? Till today, I'm doing this, and there's a lot of positive feedback from it, and I know people love it because everyone wants to be unique and different, and they want to have some image which really represents them. So those, kind of new tools allows us to do that. And I think, yeah, again, something that cut the cost, so I know there's a lot of companies, and it was interesting for me because I got a lot of again hate from companies which were doing just the actual backgrounds for portraits and headshots, that they started kind of going after me, like, why are you promoting this? This is not fair. And I get it, like, if you running business which can replace you by, this digital creations, of course it's scary, right?
One of the reasons why I don't time limit my sessions really is so that I can go through different setups, different backdrops, different lighting setups, and what that does is it creates variety, and that variety is the thing that turns into an upsell. Um, and that's basically where the value of that session comes in, because this is the I remember when I first changed my business in that direction, the criticism I used to get, or the questions I used to get was like, oh, well, how can you not time limit your sessions? So now, how's that going to translate into value? Well, because I can create more, a greater variety of imagery, and the client, 100% in my experience, you know, is gonna basically buy more images if there's a greater variety of images there, and of course you do the standard white, the gray, the black, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. Um, but if you can offer, in addition to that, a number of digital backgrounds, basically, then of course your chance of actually monetizing that session more lucratively, in a sense, is so much higher. So this would be an occasion where actually this could come in really quite handy, for your business, as such.
Absolutely, 100%. And then, like, as I said, you're not limited to the same backgrounds. You offering something, as I said, different and unique for each client. It's also interesting for me that sometimes I had these clients who they like, oh, I don't want any digital backgrounds, like I want just gray one. And I always like, because it doesn't take much time. It just takes, matter of seconds. And if you know how to prompt it properly, and what the clients like, what the professions they are in, and you show them, and it's like, oh yeah, that actually looks really cool. And then, just changing their perspective. And then, I found also a lot of clients, they use their regular great background, typical corporate headshots for their, I don't know, the business page. But as soon as they jump on, social media or places where they want to have some a little bit more, unique look, they always turn into those digital backgrounds once, right?
It's
Always.
that's
So
exactly the thing. I mean, I don't. It's count. I can't even count anymore the amount of times that I had people, come in and go like, "Well, I just want a white background, keep it simple or gray or something." And then whenever I said like, "Okay, well, let's do something a little darker, a little bit more dramatic," I'll guarantee you that they fall in love with that image at the end of the session, and they'll definitely then, buy some of those images 100% every time. I've never had a session where somebody goes like, "I don't like the dark, moody, dramatic look." That always goes. I mean, to the point where now I very often just skip all the other stuff and I go straight to that because I know that it virtually every time, it's an option that people like, and again, so but how do you like when you create digital backdrops? Do you shoot initially specifically on medium gray in order to extract out, or is there anything you do during the shooting process that makes it easier to replace the backdrop with a digital backdrop afterwards?
So nowadays the AI got so good that you don't really have to kind of go with any specific type of background to separate your you know subject from the background. AI is pretty good to kind of recognize the subject and kind of create this decent selection. The one thing what I always recommend to people is create this kind of highlights which gonna clearly separate the subject from the background, because it's going to be much easier for AI to kind of recognize where's the subject, where's the background. But even if you not do that, then like it's something that AI is pretty good these days. So there's a couple of things what I want to actually just maybe kind of step back and then just kind of give a little bit more, I would say, kind of different perspective on this. So when it comes to creating those digital backgrounds, the one thing what I always pointed out, you have to start with the good image, right? Because I think there's a lot of people think that, oh, if even if I shoot crappy image, I can I can use AI to make it pretty. It's not gonna work. I can tell you, when it comes to my experience, you have to have good image. So those skills of doing proper good headshots, it still stays. And you shouldn't kind of like, oh, just doing sloppy job and then hopefully that AI is gonna fix everything. The better image you starting with, the AI only kind of can be used to enhance those images to kind of look better. So that's the first step. The separation, this is another thing. You can shoot anywhere as long as there's clear separation between your subject and in your background. Then AI is going to have pretty kind of easy job to do to separate it and kind of remove the background. And lastly, what I want to say, AI is not perfect, when it comes to, especially the Photoshop one, when it comes to fixing certain things like ears and then, like hands is still, has a lot of problems. It's gonna pick up, I think, with the time, but it's not there yet. So that's something which also people have to kind of understand. Also, AI is not really good, the Photoshop one, especially to manipulating any parts of human face. Like if you start kind of playing with mouth or lips or eyes or whatever, it's not going to good job. So that's something it's still kind of developing, and I think eventually it's going to catch up and going to do the good job. But when it comes to backgrounds, it's really good.
Hey, let me just jump in real quick to tell you about the amazing sponsor of this episode, Platypod. Platypod offers innovative camera support systems designed to unleash your creativity. With their stable, versatile, and portable solutions, you can capture stunning shots like never before. And I'm not just saying that. As the host of the Camera Shake podcast, I can personally vouch for Platypod's incredible products. They've become an integral part of the show. In fact, I'm surrounded by various Platypod products holding up lights, cameras, microphones, and so on. It's really helped to transform the way I make the show and the way I shoot at home, in the studio, and on location. But don't just take my word for it. Explore Platypod's website at www.platypod.com to discover their range of products, including the Platypod Extreme, Platypod tripod heads, and the brand new handle, of course. Make sure to follow Platypod on Instagram and Facebook at Platypod Tripods for exclusive updates, tips, and giveaways. By choosing Platypod, you're not only investing in your photography, but you're also supporting the Camera Shake Photography Podcast. Thanks again to Platypod, our amazing sponsor. Platypod, where innovation never sleeps. I tell you what I did the other day. It's I used Photoshop, to build in generative fill, build in Photoshop
Yep.
AI to get rid of reflection in glasses.
Hmm.
And you have to sort of go through a few rounds of generate, you obviously make the selection and you have to go through a few rounds of generating. But I know for some very bizarre reason, this is across a number of images. I found that on the
Hmm.
second round, the middle image, because it gives you three
Hmm.
options. For some reason, the second round of generating the middle image tended to be the best one, and I don't know why that was,
Hmm.
but and yeah, absolutely, it got rid of the reflection. It basically filled the space in with a really realistic render of what would be underneath. And, it took hardly any time at all, and
Yeah.
so thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.